Right, so all of you back. Let's complete with the last item of the financial statement over there. What are the items which we saw in the income statement? Sale of products and services, then the purchases of the goods and services, right? Then after that, sales purchases, then the employee benefit expenses and the depreciation amortization expense, and then you have the other income and the other expense, right? For other income, what were the three other income? Interest income, dividend income, and the profit or loss on the sale of investments in the mutual fund. For each of them, we have to study what is the recognition criteria and then the verification. That is, what are the audit procedures to be performed by the auditor, right? Now we come to the other expenses. Right, now we come to the last item over there, which is regarding the other expenses. Okay, right. For depreciation, what were the two questions we had studied? Depreciation, two questions. No, we studied accounting policy, is it as per AS, and whether it is consistent, so the attributes, and then after that the audit procedures. Similarly, now for these expenses, first you have a question regarding the attributes while verifying the other expenses. Again, a question already asked in your exams, right? The attributes while verifying the other expenses, right? So whenever I'm checking any other expense, any general operating expenses of the company, it says what are the attributes which the auditor should be checking for. So now let me say, take it as an example. Okay, we want to check the rent expenditure, right? So now obviously, one, the rent expenditure should be related to the current period. Current period means I'm doing audit for 2025-26, so it should be related to the current period. Then it should not be a capital expenditure, but it should be a revenue expenditure. Only then it should come under the expenses, otherwise it will go to the fixed assets. Okay, then it should be, expenditure should be supported by the supporting document, so it should have the valid supporting document. So for the rent, what will be the supporting document over there? The rent agreement. I'm just taking example of rent expense. Okay, then the expenditure should be classified under the correct expense head. So what is going to be the correct expense head in my example? The rent agreement. Then obviously rent expenditure can be incurred only after it has been authorized as per the delegation of authority matrix. And obviously that rent expenditure, should it be the personal rent expenditure or should it be related to the company, right? Obviously it should be related to the business and not the personal expenditure. So it should be the business expenditure, and not that the managing director of the company is staying in a rented bungalow and that rented bungalow expenditure has been recorded in the books of account, right? So business expenditure and not the personal expenditure, right? So whenever I check any expense, first thing what do I say? Okay, whether the expenditure is related to the current year, right? Whether the expenditure is related to the current year, right? So what is that? That is nothing but the cutoff, right? Then what do I also check? That whether the expenditure is a revenue expenditure and not a capital expenditure. So it should be a revenue expenditure and it should not be a capital expenditure, and also it should be recorded under the correct expense head. So these 2 points are nothing but the classification. These 2 points are nothing but the classification. It should be recorded in the correct account, right? Then after that, what does it say? It should be supported by the supporting documents and it should also be authorized, right? So supporting documents authorized, and also it should be the business expenditure and not the personal expenditure, right? So again, this is a question asked in your exams regarding what are the attributes while verifying the other expenses. What are the attribute? Number one, it should be related to the current period. Number two, it should be related to the business and not a personal expenditure. Then number three over there, it should be a revenue expenditure and not a capital expenditure. So what we say, it should not be capital expenditure, it should not be personal expenditure, and it should be revenue expenditure, it should be a business expenditure. Then obviously also what you need to check is the supporting document. Also check whether it has been correctly classified under the correct expense head, and again authorized by as per the delegation of authority of the matrix, right? So current period, then it should be revenue expenditure, business expenditure. That means it should not be capital expenditure, it should not be the personal expenditure. Then the supporting document, then whether it has been correctly classified and also whether it has been properly authorized as per the delegation of authority matrix, right? Everybody, do you understand? This is a question which has already come in the exam. Attributes while verifying the other expenses, right? And then what are the other expenses they've mentioned over there? Rent expense, power and fuel expense, insurance expense, legal and professional expense, travel, repair, maintenance, printing, stationery, miscellaneous expenses, and then the analytical procedures. Right, so again in the exams we have seen the question regarding the, right, the rent and power and fuel expenses over there. Right, so if I just quickly come to the question bank over here, right, for the other expenses, right, what does it say in the other expenses? What question has come in the exam? Right, the rent expenses, not in the exam, but exam what question has come two times is regarding the attributes while verifying the other expenses, what I just discussed with you. And what is an RTP question over there? Rent expense and the power and fuel expenses. Right, so right now I am discussing with you the rent expense, power and fuel expenses, then the legal and professional expenses. Then after legal and professional expenses, what other expenses are over there? The travel, repair, maintenance, printing, stationery, all miscellaneous expenses put together, and then the analytical procedures. Right, so now which are the first ones? Rent expense, power and fuel expense, and the insurance expense. And then after that you have the legal, professional, then miscellaneous, and then the analytical procedure. So if I want to check the rent expense, what is the first point over there? Obtain a month-wise schedule along with the rent agreement. Then for power and fuel, what does it say? Obtain a month-wise schedule along with the power bill. For insurance, obtain a summary of the insurance policy along with their validity period. And legal professional expenses, obtain a month-wise and a consultant-wise summary. So month-wise, and also each lawyer, what consultancy are you taking? So do you see the common point over there? Obtain a schedule. Right, so obtain a month-wise schedule for rent along with the rent agreement, for power and fuel along with the power bill, for the insurance expenses along with the insurance policy, and also the validity period. For legal and professional, month-wise and the consultant-wise summary you need to obtain. Are you getting that? Then what is the next point for the rent over there? Verify if expense has been recorded for all the 12 months and whether the rent amount is as per the agreement. So all 12 months means completeness, and amount means the accuracy. Right, so completeness and accuracy, whether for all 12 months it has been recorded as per the agreement. Then again for power and fuel, whether it has been recorded for all the 12 months. Then for legal retained professional fee, again expenditure has been recorded for all the 12 months. Right, if it is for a monthly retainership agreement. Are you getting those points over there? Right, then after that for rent, what is the next point over there? You need to check for any escalation clause. Escalation clause, that every year the rent will increase by 20%. Right, so escalation clause, right, so whether rent was required to be recorded on a straight line. And also obviously the agreement should be in the name of the entity, and the expense relating to the premises should be used for running the business operations of the entity. And so the rent agreement, if it is of Geo, in whose name the rent, if the rent expenses of Geo, in whose name the rent agreement should be? Geo. And obviously those premises, it should be used for running the business operations, right, the running the business operations of the entity. Right, so first two common points: obtain a schedule and 12 months. Then after that, escalation clause, and the agreement should be in the name of the entity, and the premises should be used for running the business operations of the entity. Right, then coming to the power and fuel expense. Power and fuel expense, obtain a month-wise schedule, then verify the expense for all the 12 months. Then also compile a month-wise summary of the power units consumed and the applicable rate. What is this? Analytical procedure. I explained it to you, units consumed per month into the rate per unit. That can you develop an expectation regarding electricity expenditure? Yes, check it with the arithmetical accuracy of the bills raised. And in relation to units consumed, analyze the monthly power units consumed. Monthly power units consumed with the units of finished goods produced, and again investigate reasons for variance. Right, so power units consumed with the finished goods produced, like for you're comparing what analytical you're performing, what is the plausible relationship, how much are the power units consumed and how much are the finished goods produced. And again, if there are variances, you ask the reasons for the variances. Right, then insurance, mainly in case of insurance we always have that problem of the accounting of the prepaid insurance. Right, so again, whether expense has been correctly classified as prepaid and expense for the period based on the number of the days. Right, whether it has been correctly classified as the prepaid and the expense for the period based on the number of the days, right? Legal professional, if it is a monthly retainership agreement, then check expenditure for all 12 months, that every month you pay the lawyer 2 lakh and say whatever legal matters you take care of. Or second, it could be a non-recurring expense. So again, you need to select a sample and vouch. And again, you need to check whether the disputes are related to the company and not the personal disputes of the director. And then also, these disputes, they should be reflected in the contingent liability. These disputes, they should be reflected in the contingent liability. So auditor should be cautious while vouching the legal expenses, as the same may highlight a dispute for which the entity has not made any provision and the matter may not have been discussed with the auditor. So now you need to check for the whether for these disputes, whether a provision is to be made or a contingent liability is to be disclosed. Okay, right? Then travel, repair, maintenance, say select a sample and vouch, right? And also for the attributes discussed above, and again a summary of expenditure on a monthly basis. So what is the favorite word they have over there? Select a sample and vouch. Select a sample and vouch. Right. Then again, what is the another point for all other expenses? What are the analytical procedure? Overall reasonableness. Again, you compare it with the previous year. You compare it with the industry trend and you ask the reasons for the management for any significant variations found. Is this a very important sentence? Wherever I want to write analytical procedure, I can put that story over there. Okay, what I want to check by analytical overall reasonableness. How to do that? Compare with previous year, compare with industry trend, and whenever you find the variation, significant variations, you ask the management for the reasons, right? So ask for the reasons from the management if any significant variations have been found. Clear to everyone? Attributes while verifying the other expenses, that is one. And then specifically they are talking about a few other expenses over there, like rent, power and fuel, legal expenses, then the insurance expense, travel, repair, and the analytical procedures. Clear to everyone? Okay, and then you have the Schedule 3 disclosure, right? What is the breakup? Rent, insurance, power and fuel, repairs and maintenance. For the breakup, repairs and maintenance of building, repairs and maintenance of plant and machinery, repair and maintenance of others. Can all repairs be shown together? No. For repair, you have a breakup. Repair of building, repair of plant and machinery, and the repair of the others. Legal and professional, printing and stationery, traveling expenses, and the miscellaneous expenses. Right. Then apart from these, there are some additional Schedule 3 disclosures which are also required to be given. Right. What is the one additional disclosure over there regarding the CSR? Right. Amount which, so this also reminds me of clause 20 of CARO, CSR. Right, other than ongoing project and related to ongoing project, 6 months and 30 days, right? So here what does it say? Amount required to be spent, amount of expenditure incurred, shortfall, previous year shortfall, reason for shortfall, nature of CSR, and any details of related party where the contribution is made to a trust which is controlled by the company, right? So that is one set of the points, and where the provision is made in respect to the liability for entering into any contractual obligation, right? So this is one disclosure which is required for the CSR, where in the Schedule 3 disclosures. Then after that, rounding off, right? What do you know about the rounding off? Total income of the company, if it is less than 100 crore, you can round it off to hundreds, thousand, lakhs or million, and if it is 100 crore and above, then lakh, million, crores or decimal. Right, so if revenue is less than 100, you can start with 100,000, lakh, million. If revenue is more than 100, then you need to start with lakh. Less than 100 crore, then you need to start with 100,000, and 100,000, lakh, million or the decimal. And if revenue is more than 100 crore, then you directly start with lakh, million, crores or decimals thereof. So this is again Schedule 3. You studied in Schedule 3, no, rounding off, how it can be done. Right, then details of Benami property held. So Benami property held is again coming due to the clause 1E of CARO. Right, so the details of the Benami property held, the details of the property, amount, the details of the beneficiary, if property is in the book or it is not in the book, and the details of the proceedings and the nature of the proceedings. Right, so that's the details of the Benami property. Then after that, relationship with the struck off company. Struck off means it has been removed. Right, it's no longer a, what do you say, more like to what you say, a liquidated company or something like that, right? Struck off company, right? So what does it say? Where whether there are any transactions with companies which have been struck off, right? So how much investment do you have in these companies? How much are you receivable from such company? What is your payable? What are the shares held by the struck off company and the other outstanding balances, right? So that's the relationship with the struck off company, because that much your investments you will have to impair. You know, that much of your investments in those struck off companies you will have to reduce. Okay, right. Then following ratios to be disclosed. So what are the ratios to be disclosed? Current ratio, debt equity ratio, debt service coverage ratio, return on equity, inventory turnover, trade receivable turnover, trade payable turnover, net capital turnover. So all these are related to turnover, right? Then net profit ratio, ROCE, that is return on capital employed, and ROI. What is ROI? Return on investment. And any of the ratio, including in the numerator or denominator for computing the above, you have to explain the item. And if there is a change in the ratio of 25% or more, you have to give the explanation. So this is again MCQ or correct and incorrect. When you have to give the explanation, as compared to last year, my debtor turnover ratio this year is 10% change, so then I don't need to give explanation. But if there is a change like 30%, then I have to give the further explanation for the same. Are you getting that, right? The further explanation. So following ratios to be disclosed, and if any of the ratio, if there is a change of 25% or more, then the explanation has to be given. 25% or more change as compared to the preceding year. And then last schedule 3 disclosure over there, details of the cryptocurrency or the virtual currency, right? Cryptocurrency and or the virtual currency like the bitcoins or something over there, right? So what does it say? One, the profit or loss on the transactions involving the crypto or the virtual currency. So profit or loss on the crypto or the virtual currency. Then the amount of the currency which you're holding as on the reporting date, and the deposits or advances from any person for the purpose of trading or investing in the cryptocurrency or the virtual currency. So the deposits or advances, and you have to keep some margin money for doing the trading in such currencies, right? So one, what does it say? Profit or loss for transactions involving the cryptocurrency, virtual currency, then the amount of the currency held at the reporting date, and the deposits or advances from any person for the purpose of trading or investing in the cryptocurrency or the virtual currency, right? So yes, have we completed? So like 40 pages in this book, and every book has its own number of pages over there, but in this book it is 40 pages, and plus in addition to that question bank, so don't ask. And a question bank is also such a gigantic question bank at the end of the chapter, right? So where in the question bank also there are some 73 questions, and that again is going up to page number 60. So 40 pages of the chapter, 20 pages of the question bank, right? So all that put together is the chapter of the items of the financial statement. My suggestions to you, every time you change the theme of how you study this chapter. Like once, what did I tell you? And whenever you study the study audit, every time you study one item. Then what did I say? One time you see only the schedule 3 disclosure, right? Then another way to study any chapter is like, you know, first time when you study the chapter, you study the theory, and then you come to the question bank. And sometimes when you study the chapter, you should first study all the points which are given in the question bank, and then just go through the theory. Like, you know, sometimes we come from audit risk to audit procedure, and sometimes we went from audit procedure to audit risk. Because you know what happened? By the time we come to the end of the chapter, winding up procedure start. And by the time we come to the question bank, we are like, okay, now already 2 hours I have studied audit, I have to study advanced accounts also, I have to study some other subject also. So obviously then your speed and your quality of your study, it undergoes a change. So then how to compensate and how to manage that? Change the sequence of the chapter. Sometimes go FIFO, sometimes go LIFO. Nobody is going to ask you how you studied. What is important is how much marks you got in the exam. You understand? No, the process is your own. You decide it on your own. But the output is very, very important. Because you see the question bank, no, advertisement expenses, refund of general insurance premium, profit or loss on sale of real estate plots by a real estate dealer. No, this has nothing to do with what is given in the chapter. है ना? They say payment of taxes, foreign travel expenses. Now all this has nothing to do with the contents of the chapter. But then do I need to cover both chapter also and question bank also? Yes, both of that need to be covered, right? So that's about the big chapter over there, the items of the financial statement. And now coming to the next chapter, which is the audit in an automated environment, right? So now coming to the next chapter of the audit in an automated environment, right? Again, a fantastic chapter. Why fantastic? Because every exam question is coming, right? And again, a good deal to study this chapter. Standards on auditing, 27 standard. Out of that, few questions will come. But you know, automated environment, some 10, 20 questions over there. And out of that, one question will come. So obviously, the ratio proportion over here is more better. And also audit in an automated environment, right? So earlier this chapter used to be, you know, long time back, EDP environment, enterprise data processing. Then it became ERP, enterprise resource planning. Then it became CIS, audit in the computerized information systems environment. And today we have what we have is the automated environment, right? So the audit in an automated environment. So obvious question in this chapter is, what is an automated environment? And the meaning of an automated environment. Then what are the key features of an automated environment? Then nowadays, what business functions and activities are carried out with the help of the computers? Right, the business functions and the activities which are carried out with the help of the computers. Okay, no human intervention being done by the computers only. Then auditor, can you now ignore the use of the computer? No, you have no option but to consider the use of the computers. So situations in which IT will be relevant to the audit, right? Situations in which IT will be relevant to the audit. Then auditor, now what you'll have to do, you will have to first understand the automated environment. Auditor, you'll have to understand the automated environment. Then you also have to check what are the IT risks associated with the automated environment. Then what is the impact of this automated environment on my controls? Control testing. What is the impact of the automated environment on the substantive audit procedures? And what is the impact of the controls on the reporting? Right, so impact of IT on the control testing, impact of audit on substantive, and impact of controls on the reporting to be done by the auditor. Right, then after that we have a question regarding the control based audit approach. Right, then we have a question regarding the control based audit approach. Right, so now we talked in 315 about risk based audit approach. Now here we talk about the control based audit approach. Then they also talk about the types of controls in an automated environment. What are the three types of control that they talk about? Right, the general IT controls, right, the general IT controls. After general, it's not specific, it is application control. When you say it on logic, no, then you say general, so then dusra second has to be specific. And general IT controls and the application controls, and then you also have the IT dependent manual controls, right? Then you also have the IT dependent manual control. So general IT controls, application controls, and also the IT dependent manual control. And nowadays when auditor has to do the audit in the automated environment, he makes use of the data analytics, right? He makes use of the data analytics. So here what question we have? What is the meaning of data analytics, what is the use of data analytics, and also what is the approach to be followed in the use of data analytics or CATS. What is CATS? Computer assisted audit techniques. And what is data analytics? It is nothing but CATS. So it means one and the same thing only. Right, so this is what we have for discussion in this chapter. What chapter am I talking to you about? Audit in an automated environment. So one, what is an automated environment. Then what are the features of an automated environment? Now what a business, earlier you used to do it manually and now it is done with the help of the computers. So what business functions and activities are being performed by the automated environment? Then why can an auditor now do the audit ignoring the use of computer? No. So situations in which IT will be relevant to the audit. Then auditor, you have to understand and document. See, in 315 what we do, we understand the entity and its environment. Now here we have to understand the automated environment. Then what are the IT risk, information technology risk? Then what is the impact on the control, substantive and the reporting? Then the control based audit approach, the types of control, and also the data analytics, right? And then we also have the data analytics. Okay, right? So what chapter am I talking to you right now about? The automated environment, right? We are talking about the chapter of the automated environment, right? The audit in an automated environment, right? So automated environment, key features, right? Then the business functions and activity, situations in which IT will be relevant, obtaining an understanding of the automated environment, risk arising. So what is risk arising? Nothing but the IT risk. Then impact of IT on substantive audit controls and the reporting. Then types of control, general IT control, under which we have four. What are the four? Data center and network operation, program change, access security, and application system acquisition, development and maintenance. These are the four types of the general IT control. Then you have the application control, and then you also have the IT dependent control. Yeah, this one more question, but actually this question I've already discussed with you along with TOC. I know what was TOC? What were the out of ICAI ORR? What did I use for TOC? Inspection, inquiry, observation and reperformance. You remember that, right? So it says inspection, inquiry, observation and the reperformance, right? So the testing methods in an automated environment. Then what are the common methods, right? So now automated environment, two questions over there. What two questions over there? What are the testing methods and what are the common methods? What are the testing methods? From the testing method, lot of correct and incorrect comes in the exam. And also what are the common methods, right? So testing methods are what? Inspection, inquiry, observation and the reperformance. And then you also have the common methods. Okay, right? Then the internal financial control. Now internal financial control is actually a term from the company law. You remember I told you, okay, earlier there was internal control system, then it changed to internal financial control, and nowadays they talk about the risk management system. And so internal financial control, where statutory auditor needs to do the reporting of IFC, under as per which section of company or law statutory audit, yes, statutory auditor needs to do the reporting on IFC? 143(3) I, right? I, right? Whether the company has adequate internal financial control and the operating effectiveness of such control, and not applicable for private company, which is a one-person company or a small company, or a private company having turnover of less than 50 crore and the borrowings of less than 25 crore. Right, we had discussed it, no? 143(3) I, right? So that's the IFC over there. Then control based audit approach, risk assessment, understand and evaluate, test for operating effectiveness and reporting. And then you have the data analytics, meaning the uses and the approach to be followed in the uses of CATS. Then at the end of this chapter, again if you check it with your study material, they've given a glossary of all the important terms, different definitions being given over there. And then after that you also have the abbreviations. And okay, IS stands for information system, ATM stands for automated teller machine, and so. And then after that we have the question bank. Are you getting that? Okay, right? So what are the questions over here? What are the key features of an automated environment? The fundamental principle of an automated environment. Then this question asked in your exam, business functions and activities being performed by IT, right? Then situations in which IT will be relevant to an audit, right? Situations in which auditor will consider the relevance of IT, obtaining an understanding of the company's automated environment, then impact of IT related risks. Then what are the testing methods? inspection, inquiry, observation, and the reperformance. Then what are the IT risks? Then what could be the impact if the risk is not mitigated? Then again, retail question on the program change. Then the data center and the network operation. Then a question on the IFC. Then again, a question on the control based audit approach. If I don't see any references over here, that means it is either a study material question or a mock test paper question. Right? If you don't see, it doesn't matter to you, but I'm telling you. Okay, then you say, ma'am, why you put this question? It is some MTP or some ISM question over there, right? Then after that, you have the question regarding the request and report in light of an audit perspective, the IT environment and IT control. What are the points of the consideration, right? And then a question regarding use of data analytics. Then what are the common methods, right, for the data and yes, for testing in the data analytics. And then again, they ask few out of those terms in November 18, and few out of those terms were there in RTP May 22. So what I did, I put all of them together. And I put all of them together over there rather than making two separate questions over there. Right? So is it okay for all of you? Right? Automated environment. Maybe some of you who are doing or have done studied the subject earlier, and then now they are seeing these chapters and these questions over there. I expect this thought coming to your mind that all these days I was so busy with audit strategy, audit planning, audit program, basic concepts in auditing, and company audit was like my favorite in audit. That's a standard statement which students make. Company audit is my favorite. Caro 2020 favorite. They like it all. But they say, oh my God, now I know why I did not clear the exam. These are all the chapters I never studied only. Right? I never saw the question. And did you see the trend of the questions nowadays? 3 mark question they are asking. Why 3 marks question they are asking? Because question number 2, there is A, B, C, D. Question number 3, again A, B, C, D. And then how is that A, B, C, D? 4, 4, 3, 3, 4, 4, 3, 3. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14, 14 mark ka each question. But in that each question also we have four question, and that is why. That is, see, they could have done it as, in final they ask. Final also it is, what do you say, 14 mark only each question. But there it is 554. And there it is 554 in CA final audit paper. But in intermediate they are asking more. So there it is like 4433. Are you getting it? Okay, right. So some time back we never saw 3 mark question, but now because of the pattern of the paper, it's where we can now see the 3 mark question. And obviously, can they check more of your concepts with 3 marks? Yeah, they can check the more of the concepts. You should have the art. Okay, same question, if it is asked for 3 marks, how much to write? Same asked for 4 marks, how much to write? Same asked for 5 marks, how much to write? That add less, accordingly you have to fit your answer accordingly. Okay, right. So now let's come to the discussion of the automated environment. And now what do we say? Automated environment, the auditor makes use of the data analytics, right? What is data analytics? Right, the combination of PTT. What is PTT? Processes, tools, and techniques to generate the meaningful information from the raw system data is called as data analytics. And whenever I read this, to generate meaningful information from raw system data, I think, have you guys used Excel, Microsoft Excel? Do you know how to put a filter in Excel? All DFF is the short form, no, for putting the filter. So if I have the total fixed assets of the company or total sales of the company, and if I only want the sales in the month of August, I have to put a filter over there. And then in the drop down, I have to select August, and then I will get all the sales only of the month of August. So I had the raw system data. From that I generated the meaningful information. That is called as data analytics. Have you heard something called as, you can run a pivot in Excel? You can run the pivot table. So again, what is that? That is a, right, that is again a data analytics, the process of generating meaningful information from raw system data using PTT. What is PTT? Processes, tools, and techniques is referred to as the data analytics. Okay, and the data analytics which are used in an audit are called as the CATs. Okay, so computer assisted audit techniques. So I think always we guys knew it as CATs, computer assisted audit techniques. We always knew. Do you knew this term from before? The computer assisted audit techniques. And then you come to know, okay, oh, earlier the auditor used to make use of CATs, and now he's making use of data analytics. Is it anything new? Nothing new. It is just old in, what do you say? Same. It's just an old wine, new bottle, that type. You understand? No, the concept, what you say, the term, what you say, the content of is the same, but only the name is new over there. So the data analytics which are used in an audit are referred to as the computer assisted audit techniques. Okay, right? So this is the meaning. Now, where in an audit can you make use of computers? Where in an audit you can use data analytics, means simple logic. What? Okay, where in an auditor can you make use of the computer? So where in an auditor you can make use of the computer? One, it says for checking the completeness of the data and population. Today when we were studying the characteristics of the population, what was the second characteristic of the population? ACR, three characteristics, na? Appropriateness, completeness, and the reliable. So what does this C stand over there for? Completeness. So now it says you want to check the completeness of the data and population, which is to be used for TOC or substantive. How you can check the completeness? It says with the help of the computer. You can check in the drop down whether all 12-month sales are reflected. Right, so by using the computer. Then also, what does it say? Sample selection can now be done with the help of the computer. So how do I remember these points? Population and sample. Population and the sample. Right, population for checking the completeness of the data and population, and then also for selecting the sample. Then after that you have the 2 points of the what are the 2 points of the recomputation of the balances, that is reconstruction of the trial balance from the transaction data, and reperformance of the mathematical calculation like depreciation, bank interest calculation, etc. So recomputation and reperformance. Okay, and then after that you have the analysis of the journal entry. Journal entry, that means it could be a fictitious journal entry, bogus journal entry. Bogus journal entry, that means it could be a fraud, and obviously you need to check the control deficiencies. Okay, how come these type of frauds are happening also? Right, so next 3 points over there is JE. What is JE? Journal entry. For that you need to do the fraud investigation and also see the impact of the control deficiencies. Right, also see the impact of the control deficiencies. Right, so uses of the CATs. Only these 7 uses of CATs you are supposed to write in the exam. Population, sample, recomputation, reperformance, then the analysis of the journal entry, fraud investigation, and evaluating the impact of the control deficiencies. Right, so again W. Right, next question over there, approach or the steps to be followed in the uses of CATs. You know, what are the steps, what are the procedure? Now again I'm giving you a general guideline over here. What general guideline I'm giving to you over here? Okay, whenever we talk about steps, whenever, not only here, wherever, anywhere, wherever we talk about steps, you always have to remember 3 alphabets over there. Which 3 alphabets you will remember over there? OPC. What does that mean? Objective, procedure, and the conclusion. Right, objective, procedure, and the conclusion. Okay, why am I doing this checking? What checking am I doing? And based on the checking, what is the conclusion? So objective, procedure, conclusion. Objective, procedure, and the conclusion. So now we are talking about the approach to be followed in the uses of the CATs. So we are talking about the OPC, but here before O there is one more point: understand the business environment including the IT. So first you understand the use of the computers. Then after that you define the objective and the criteria. So what is your objective? You want to check depreciation, and what you want to check whether depreciation is correctly calculated. So you have an objective and you have the criteria. Okay, what you want to check. Then you perform the procedure and then you reach the conclusion. Right, so if I want to check depreciation, first I have to identify, okay, what data will I require for checking depreciation? What data will I require? Fixed assets register. Then should I extract that fixed asset register from the client computer system? Yes, extract the data. Once I extract the data, should I start doing the checking? No, first I need to check the completeness and accuracy of the extracted data. Then I apply the criteria on the data. That means now I run the formula, cost of asset into rate of depreciation. So I apply the criteria, then validate and confirm the result, and then you reach the conclusion. So in the procedure over here, which is the super important word over there? Data. So identify the source and format of the data, then extract the data, then check the completeness and accuracy of the data, then apply the criteria on the data, then validate and confirm the result, and then report and document the results and conclusions. Are you understanding that, everyone? Right, so data analytics, right? So when you also study from your book, let's see, right now I'm just discussing, but does it look like I have discussed this page in the book? Or this particular concept over there? Yes, we have our markings and an analysis over there. Right, then next question which we have over there is regarding the control based audit approach. Right, so in SA 315, 330, 450 we talk about the risk based audit approach. Here we are talking about the control based audit approach. I continue with the example I had given you today morning, or before that, you know, Airtel. If I want to check the revenue of Airtel, right, revenue recognition of Airtel, does it make sense to check it manually, or should I check it the controls related to the same? I should check the control. Why? Because I tell client I want to check it manually. They say, what is the use? There is no manual control. It is 100% automatic. Right, it is 100% automated over there. So first you have to identify which are the accounts and disclosures which are now affected due to the use of computer. So in my example, which area is now affected due to the use of computer? Revenue. Right, then the quantitative and qualitative consideration. Right, so whatever considerations regarding that revenue. Then what does it say? The financial statement assertion. What could be the assertion? The occurrence, the completeness, the measurement of the revenue, all is affected by the control. Then identify what are the likely sources of the misstatement. What are the likely sources? Okay, in that automated control of revenue recognition, what can go wrong? And also, what is the risk arising from the use of the IT system? So first, what you do over here, you do the risk assessment, but now risk in the context of the use of the computer. So identify the accounts. You see, oh, their depreciation is manually calculated. Then will I consider that account balance and disclosure over here? No. But I come to know, depreciation calculated with the help of computer. Then that significant account and disclosure. Then the quantitative, qualitative consideration. Then the assertion. Then the likely sources of the misstatement and the risk arising from the use of the IT system. Okay. Now I come to know, okay, if I have to check depreciation, if I have to check revenue, I have to check the controls. If I want to check revenue, if I want to check depreciation, now what I found out, okay, there is a risk, and now for that I'll have to check the control. So to check the control, first you'll have to understand the control. So how to understand the control? Either using the flow chart or the narrative. Then you prepare the risk and control matrices. Okay, auditors say there is a risk of over recognition of revenue. Then in order to prevent this risk, what control has been put in place by the management? And also risk and control matrices. So one, you understand the process by flow chart or narrative. You know the methods of evaluation of internal control: narrative, record, checklist, questionnaire, and flow chart. And out of that, they've mentioned two over there: narrative, records, and the flow chart. Then you understand the, prepare the risk and control matrices. Then you perform a walkthrough of the system. What is a walkthrough? From the beginning to the end of the transaction, you check all the controls which are exercised and a walkthrough of the system. Then after that, you check for the process-wide consideration for entity-level control. That is across the organization, what controls are there and whether there is proper SOD. What is SOD? Segregation of duty. So you check for ELC and SOD. What is ELC? Entity level control. And you check for the segregation of duties. Then after that, you also check for IT general controls and the application controls. Entity level controls are nothing but IT general controls, and then you also check for the application controls. Are you understanding that? Understand and evaluate. One, risk assessment. Then understand and evaluate. How to understand? Flowchart, narrative, prepare risk and control matrices, then do the walkthrough, then ELC, SOD, and then IT general controls and the application control. Now have you understood the controls? Have you now understood the control? Yes. Now what you will do, you will test the operating effectiveness of those controls. So now operating effectiveness means now you're talking about the TOC. So nature, timing, and extent of the TOC. Then again, what do we say? Whenever we get the data, first we check the reliability of the data and the completeness of the data. That is completeness of the population. So whenever they give me the data, do I start checking? No. First I check the reliability and the completeness. Then I do the testing. Then I do the sample testing. And obviously the people who are doing this work, should they be competent of doing this work? Yes. The person who is doing control testing doesn't understand anything about computer and he's checking, and he will do a horrible work. So the competence and the independence of the staff who are performing the control testing. So that is test for operating effectiveness. Are you understanding? Risk assessment, then understand and evaluate, then test for OE, and now coming to the reporting. Reporting means what? You've identified a control deficiency. You have to check whether it is a significant deficiency or a material weakness. If the deficiency could affect financial statements, then we consider it to be a material weakness. One, it's a significant deficiency, but if the significant deficiency could affect your financial statement amount, then it is considered to be a material weakness. And then you check the remediation of the control weakness. You issue the management letter to management as per SA 265. 265 is not in your syllabus, but what is the title of 265? That is 260, communication with those charged with governance. 265 is communicating deficiencies in internal control to those charged with governance and management. So that is the management letter. And then auditor's report, SA 700, 143.3 I, whether there are any deficiencies. You say internal financial controls are not operating effectively, right? IFC is not operating effectively. This is the control based audit approach. What are the 4 broad steps? Risk assessment, understand and evaluate, test for operating effectiveness, and the reporting. And then for each of them, we have these subpoints to be written over there. Okay, right? Then they also talk about the IFC. What is IFC? Internal financial control. Why? In order to ensure the reliability of financial reporting, efficiency, effectiveness of operation, compliance with the law regulations, safeguarding of the assets, and the prevention detection of the fraud and error. So what is control? Control system means policies and procedures. And why these policies and procedures are there? One, in order to ensure the reliability of financial reporting, efficiency, effectiveness of the operation, safeguarding of the assets, compliance with the laws and regulation, and the prevention detection of the fraud. Where in company law do you find a reference of internal control or internal financial control? It says 134 subsection 5. What is 134? DRS. Then 134 subsection 5, director's responsibility statement, and a DRS, the director's responsibility statement. Then also the rule 85 of the company account rule, which also talks about the adequacy of IFC. Then also it's given in the duties of the independent directors that the company should have the internal financial controls and the systems of risk management. Then audit committee of a company, as per section 177, they also need to check for IFC and risk management. And statutory auditors of the company, as per 143.3 I, they also need to do the reporting on the adequacy and the operating effectiveness of the IFC. So here what they've done, control F in company law. Okay, where all in company law do you find a reference of IFC? Where all in company law do you see a reference of the IFC? So where all do you see a reference? 134 subsection 5. Then the company audit rule. Then in the board report. Then also the duties of the independent director. Then also it comes in the role of the audit committee, and also the statutory auditors need to report on the same. Right, so that's the point over there regarding the IFC. Now coming to the testing methods. Are you all with me? Right, so now coming to the testing methods in an automated environment. Is it similar to TOC? Inquiry, inspection, observation, and the reperformance. Now what does it say? Inquiry is the most efficient. Doing inquiry, most efficient. Going and ask how you do purchases, what are the controls which are there for purchases. So making inquiry is the most efficient. But what does it say? It gives you the least evidence. So inquiry is most efficient, but you get the least evidence. That is why what does it say? Inquiry alone is not sufficient. Then what you should do, always use inquiry in combination with any one of the other audit testing methods. And generally, what is a terrific or a very good combination over there? Inquiry in combination with the inspection gives the most effective and efficient audit evidence. This is their favorite for correct and incorrect. Inquiry is most efficient, but it is gives you the least evidence. That is why inquiry should always be used in combination. And which is a good combination? Inquiry with inspection gives you the most effective and the most efficient audit evidence also. Then what is most effective? Reperformance is most effective and it gives you the best evidence. But what is the problem? It is very time consuming and least efficient. So reperformance is most effective and you get, means that you do the control testing again. You reperform the control. It says it is the most effective and you get the best evidence. But what is the problem? It is time consuming and it is least efficient. Right? So again, this is another story for the correct and correct. Are you understanding? So inquiry, inspection, observation and the reperformance, right? These are the testing methods. Then after that, what does it say? What are the common methods? Now, what are the common methods over there? First 2 points over there, it talks about the obtain an understanding of how an automated transaction is processed. So first you have to understand. What you have to understand? How an automated transaction is processed. Like, say if I place an order on Zomato, right? Say I go to Zomato, search a restaurant over there, and then I place an order over there. Obviously, is it automatically processed? Does it get, is it automated, or is there some person sitting over there, No, it all happens through the help of the computers only, right? You place the order, then you say your order has been received, then your order is yet to be accepted by the restaurant, then it says your order has been accepted, your food is being prepared, your food is out for delivery, reaching your doorstep. You understand? You see entire process. So first you have to understand the automated transaction. For that you have to observe, right? So again, here you have the observe how the user processes transactions under the different scenario. Then after that it says inspect. Inspect what? The configuration, inspect the system log and inspect the technical manual and the user manual. So one, you understand, then you observe, then you inspect the system log, the configuration and the technical manual, then you carry out a test check. What test check? Negative testing. What do they say? Okay, if that particular item in a Myntra, say you select a particular item over there and you add it to your cart, and that time that item was in stock, but that time you didn't place the order. After 4 days you remembered, okay, I had put it in my cart, now I want to place the order for the same. Okay, now say it is out of stock. But so does it happen in Myntra, that the item is out of stock, but they show that it is in stock and they accept your order? No, it will never happen. What does it say? Few of the items added to your cart are out of stock. So first you delete them. Right, so what I will do, deliberately, knowingly, I'm doing the audit of Myntra. I know that this particular phone they don't have, no, they don't, Myntra doesn't deal in phone or whatever. This particular bag they don't have in stock. So unnecessarily, deliberately, I add it to my cart. And then what I want to see, really, is it saying, no, item not in stock, you cannot place the order. Item not in stock, you cannot place the order. Because do I have the inventory list of Myntra? Yes, I have the inventory list. I'm the auditor of Myntra. You understand that? So what does it say? Do the test check, do the negative testing and observe the error message displayed by the application. Right, so the error message, right, say like in a bank account, that a customer is having only 20,000 rupees. And if the customer says, I want to withdraw 25,000, again an error message should be displayed on the screen. Right, then conduct a reperformance using raw source data and independently apply the formula. So you do an independent testing. So one, you obtain an understanding, then you observe, then you inspect, then you carry out a test check and you also do the reperformance. Then also what it says, you have to rely on the system and application based information. It is first important for the auditor to check the existence and effectiveness of the general IT control, because if the general IT controls are not effective, obviously this will have an impact on the IT risk and the complexity of the automated environment, right, for which auditor will now have to plan the alternative audit procedures. Right, so for the IT control to be effective, first what needs to be effective is the general IT controls. They need to be effective, right? So has a question been asked in your exams? Yes, the common methods. So testing methods and common method. So testing method is inspection, inquiry, observation, reperformance, and there it is who is more effective, who is more efficient, least evidence, best evidence, all that over there. And here you have the flow of how you do the testing in an automated environment. What is the flow? You understand. After you understand, you observe. After you observe, you inspect. Then you test check. Then you reperform. And then you also have to check for the general IT control. Okay. Right. Then coming to the types of control. What are the three types of control? General IT controls, application controls, and the IT dependent manual control. Under general IT controls, what are the four controls we have? Data center and network operation, then the program change, access security, and the application system acquisition software, and the, I guess, acquisition development and the maintenance control. Right? That is under the general IT control. What do you mean by general IT? Overall, right? So what does it say? These are the pervasive controls, right? These are the pervasive or the indirect control. They relate to many applications and support the effective functioning of the application control. Right? So that's why we said, no, if the general IT controls are effective, only then the application and the IT dependent manual controls can be effective. But what is first important? That the general IT control should be effective. Like, you know, user ID password. If Infosys has 20,000 people working in their office, all 20,000 people, will they be having an access card? Will they be having a laptop user ID password over there? Yes, that's a general IT control. Then after that we look who records sales, who records the salary, who records the fixed asset. That is application control. But obviously for application controls to be effective, first what has to be effective is the general IT control, right? So they relate to many application and that support the effective functioning of the application controls. Are you getting that? Okay. They apply to which environment over there? Mainframe, mini-frame, and the end user environment, right? Mainframe, mini-frame, and the end user environment. And general IT control maintain the integrity of the information and the security of the data, right? So because in computers there is a concept of GIGO. What is GIGO? Garbage in, garbage out. And if the wrong data you enter into the computer, obviously the output is going to be wrong. So that is why the data which is being entered into the computer system, it should be accurate. Right? It should be accurate, right? So the integrity of the information and also the security of the data. And then nowadays when you do online transaction, do you submit your debit card, credit card information over there? Yes. Right? Also, does it ask, do you want to save your password for future, save your credit card, debit card detail for future transaction? Yes. So are you concerned about the security of your data? Yes. And RBI keeps on giving ad that be alert, be careful, for any banking frauds happening over there. Right. Now, what are the general IT control? Data center and network operation, program change, access security, and the development of a new system. That company had Tally and now they started using SAP. So they are developing a new system over there. So what are the controls over the acquisition? If they acquire third-party software or the development and maintenance of a new software. Okay. Right. For all of these four active controls, what are the 2 points we have? Objectives and activity. Objective and activities. Are you seeing that? For all the four controls, we have the objective and the activities. What is the objective for the data center and network operation? It says to ensure that production system, okay, whatever is the data of the company, it is processed to meet the financial reporting objectives. That means to meet the accounting objective of true and fair. Okay, financial statement should give a true and fair view. Only then auditor can express an opinion, true and fair. Then what does it say for program change? Modified system continue to meet the financial reporting objective. Then your access security. What does access security say? Access to program and data is authenticated and authorized. Again to meet the financial reporting objectives. And then what is the last one? Systems are developed, configured and implemented, again to meet the financial reporting objectives. So is to meet financial reporting objectives constant? Right, is it constant over there? To meet the financial reporting objectives. Okay, right, in the MCQ how they are asking the question, and like it's very obvious now when I show it to you over here, it's very easy for you. Okay, activities relating to operation operating system security. I'm just taking randomly any example. Activities relating to operating system security are a part of data center network operation control, A. B. Program change control, C. Access security control, or D. Application system control. Right now you know the answer is C, because it is the operating system security. And anyways, when you see the word security, you know it has to be the access security control. But that is how they make the question in the exam. Then another MCQ which they are making over here, to ensure that modified system continue to meet financial reporting objective, is the objective of data center network operation, program change, access security, and the application control. So again, modified system means they are talking about the program change control over there. Are you understanding the MCQs, everyone? They take the name of one activity and they ask if this activity is related to which control. Or they mention the objective of one of the control and they say this is related objective of which control. Right? This is the objective of which control. Right? So you have the data center network operation, program change, access security, and the application system acquisition, development, and maintenance. Right. Then after that, what is the second set of control you have? Second set of control after general IT control, application control. Application control could be an automated control or a manual control, right? This operates at a BPL. What is BPL? Business process level. General IT controls, they operate at the entity level. And these application controls, they operate at the business process level. Like say, you know, when I'm filling an online, I'm opening some online account. When I say I'm opening a new Google account or any, no, Myntra, anywhere. Nowadays, I need to open an account over there. So whenever I create any account, like first what they say, you have to create a password. You have to create a new password over there. And then say I create a password saying audit. Then it says no, password strength not good. What does it say? When is your password strength good? Minimum 8 characters. At least one should be a capital letter. At least one should be the alphanumeric character. And the password should not be the last 3 passwords of yours. Right, so if I finished using audit FM eco as the password, now I'll have to take taxation as the password. Is it right? Because last 3 passwords I cannot use. You know, so now what is this? This is an automated application control. This is an automated application control. So like, you know, sometimes when I'm filling an online form, there are some fields which are marked over there with an asterisk. And if I don't fill this fields, then the form comes back. And it says these are mandatory. First, you need to fill this fields. Without this, your form cannot be submitted. So again, that's an automated application control. You understanding? Your date of birth, you have to give it in the DD format. So again, that's an example of an automated application control, right? Like on Netflix, you know, only one user can see the screen at one point of time, unless and until you've taken the 2 screen access over there. So if already, you know, the Netflix user ID password, it was many people and one of them is seeing it, can the other person see it? No, it says it is already being used by so and so person. So that's again an example of an automated application control, right? So those are the automated application control. Edit check, validation of input data, sequence number check, so automatically the next number gets generated. User limit check, like I told you, Netflix, only one person can see. Reasonableness check, mandatory data field, etc. And what do automated application control ensure? They ensure the completeness, accuracy, and the integrity of the data. They ensure the completeness, accuracy, and the integrity of the data. I think so. This can also come as a retail question in your exams. Application control. It could be automated, it could be manual. Then automated application control, they are embedded into the IT application and they help in CAI, completeness, accuracy, and the integrity. And then you have the examples of the automated application control. Right, and then you have the IT dependent manual control. So IT dependent control are basically the manual control, but they make use of some form of data which is report which is generated from the IT system. What does that mean? Okay, a customer has come, he's saying please give me goods on credit of 2 lakh. The sales manager of the company has to decide, okay, to this customer, should I give him goods of 2 lakh on credit? For that, what he will do, he will generate the credit worthiness report of this customer from the system. And based on that information from the system, now he will manually take a decision whether we should give him goods on credit of 2 lakh or not give. You say his credit limit is only 1 lakh. Then you say no, maximum 1 lakh good I can give you on credit, not more than that. Or past he's always done a bad debt. You say zero, not even a single rupee good on credit for you, full cash basis. So what is that? That is the IT dependent control. But it is a, though in its name there is IT, it is a manual control. Though it is IT dependent, but it is a manual control. Why it is IT dependent? Because it is making use of some reports which are produced from the IT system. It is making use of some reports which are produced from the IT system. And obviously, what does it say? For application controls and IT dependent controls to be effective, what is required to be effective? The general IT control should be effective. Only when your general IT controls are effective, only then the automated application controls and the IT dependent controls would be effective. Okay, right? So everybody, do you understand the types of control? What are the types of control? General IT control, application controls, and the IT dependent control. Under general IT, we have 4 controls over there. Okay, right. Now coming to the next questions over there. What are the next questions over there? The risks and controls in an automated environment, and also the risk arising from obtaining and understanding risk arising from the use of IT and the impact of the IT related risk. Right. So now what I come to know, my client is having an automated environment, and automated environment at my client place. So now what I have to do, I have to understand the company's automated environment. How do I understand that? First I ask them, which information system are you using? So they say we are using Tally, we are using SAP, whichever, what system is being used. Then I also ask them, what is the purpose? Like, client, they use many software. One software they use for maintaining their inventory register, another software they use for calculating their salary processing, another software they have for their tax working, or they can have one integrated software for their entire company, right? So you ask the purpose. What system are you using? What is the purpose? If they are using that for, keeping a quality check, then that is non-financial, then that is not very relevant for the auditor. I thought they are doing keeping it, for checking the pollution level. So then it says it's not very relevant for the auditor, right? So information system, their purpose. Then the location of the IT system. So location means whether it is LAN, WAN, all that. I know, is the location of the IT system, local area network or what. Nowadays, so they talk about the cloud or the virtual private network or so, right? So the location of the IT system, its architecture, right? So desktop based, client server, web application, or the cloud based, right? So location and architecture. Then which version of the system is being used, and also the interfaces within the system. Like Tally 11, Tally 12, Tally 12.3, they have the versions, right? And also the interfaces within the system, and whether the system is in-house or whether it is outsourced, right? Whether it has the support has been outsourced, right? So in-house versus package, or whether the maintenance of the system has it been outsourced. And now, some 20-30 years back, generally in a company there used to be only the CEO and the CFO. But nowadays in the company, since the time the computers came, in the company you have a chief information officer, you have a chief information security officer. Nowadays, listed companies also need to have a chief risk officer. Then in companies nowadays, you also see a chief legal officer. So you see so many types of CXOs nowadays in the company. Right, so what is one CXO you will see over here? The CIO, that is Chief Information Officer. Then CISO, that is Chief Information Security Officer. Right, so understanding the company's automated environment. So first tell me, what information system are you using and for what purpose are you using? Then the location and the architecture, then the version and the interface, then whether it is in-house or package, and also the outsourcing, and also the key persons, that is the CIO, CISO, and the administrators, database administrators, and so right. And obviously this automated environment understanding is required to be documented, right? So that is understanding the company's automated environment. Again, a question already asked in your exams, right? Obtaining an understanding of the company's automated environment. Okay, now with the use of computers, obviously there is the IT risk, right? So what are the IT risk with the use of the computer? So what is one risk? That every time you enter 2 plus 3, some error in the system, and that is why it thinks it is 2 into 3. So obviously, what is this? Processing data inaccurately. Is it right? You entered what? 2 plus 3. Your system some program is wrong. That is why what it thought it is 2 into 3. So processing data inaccurately. Or what happened? You wanted to enter 2 plus 3, but by mistake you type 3 plus 3. So now what will happen? Processing the inaccurate data. There would be the processing of the inaccurate data. So instead of 2 plus 3, what data went? 3 plus 3, and that is data is inaccurate, and then processing is also inaccurate. So instead of 3 plus 3, it became 3 into 3. So now it is both processing data inaccurately or processing inaccurate data, or both. Processing data inaccurately or processing the inaccurate data, or both. Are you understanding? One, the data was processed inaccurately, or the data itself is inaccurate, or both. Data is also inaccurate, processing is also inaccurate, everything problem. You understand? Processing data inaccurately or processing inaccurate data, or both. You understand, everybody? Okay. And then right now they are nodding heads. I don't know what they'll do in the exam. Processing data, no, you'll write in exam, no worry. But I'm just concerned, okay, are you really understanding? Processing data inaccurately, processing inaccurate data, or both. Okay. Then what is another huge problem with the computer? Hacking. So there could be the unauthorized access to data or computer programs, or there could be the unauthorized changes to data or computer program, right? So unauthorized access to data computer program and the unauthorized changes to data computer program. So unauthorized access, and unauthorized access, that is, you can see how much is the salary of the CEO, any employee of the company. So that's unauthorized access to data. You have unauthorized access to program, and obviously once you have unauthorized access, you make changes. You have access to the master file of the salary. So what you do in front of all your friends' salary, you increase 110. So that is unauthorized changes to data. Or what you do, rates of depreciation 20%, you make it 12%, 18%, you make it 29%. So that is unauthorized changes to the program. So unauthorized changes to data, unauthorized changes to the program. Or sometimes what you can do, when there is a need to make a change, you don't make a change. That means, say the product price has been increased from 20,000 to 28,000. Should you make a change in your system? Should you make a change in your system? Okay, rates have been revised. Yes, but you don't make a change in your system. So your system will continue to record it at the old rate. So what is that? Failure to make the necessary changes, right? So sometimes you make the unauthorized changes. Sometimes where you should have made a change, you don't make the change. So failure to make necessary changes, unauthorized changes to system or program, direct data changes. I know. So what are these? All the points what I have written over here. You know what points I have written over there? Unauthorized access to data computer program, unauthorized changes to data computer program, or sometimes there is a failure to make the changes to the data or computer program. Are you getting that? Failure. Okay, now you need to make the change, but you're still not making the change. Sometimes when you don't need to make a change, still you're making the change. And sometimes when you need to make a change, you don't make the change. Are you getting it? Right. Then access privilege, that is super user access. And a super user, super user, CEO of the company, they have a backdoor entry into the system. They have some, what you say, very high, what you say, a high power of the user ID password over there. With that user ID password, they can access any part of the system, and they can pass an accounting entry in any part of the system. You understand? Purchase manager user ID, he can only pass purchase entry. Sales manager user ID, he can only pass sales entry. But CEO user ID, he can pass entry in any part of the system. Right? So super user access. Then there could also be the lack of adequate SOD, segregation of the duty. And sometimes what happens with the computer is the loss of data. And you're not able to access the data. Hard disk corrupt, hard disk crash. That is why data not available. So that is the risk arising from the use of the IT. Again, a question asked in your exam. This chapter is so beautiful. Entire chapter is almost sitting in the question bank. right? So one, understanding the company automated environment, then what are the risks arising from the use of the IT, then what is the impact of these risks on substantive audit, on controls and the reporting. Okay, now when I'm doing my substantive audit, now when I'm doing my TOC, and now when I need to do the reporting, what is the impact of all these risks? Are you understanding the question? Impact of the IT related risk. And the biggest concern for the auditor, now when he knows that his client is using computers, is he says, I cannot rely on the data. I cannot rely on the automated control. I cannot rely on the IT dependent manual control. Auditor says, who has done depreciation calculation? There's a computer. Auditor says, gone. I cannot rely on the data. I cannot rely on the data. Are you understanding? Who generated the sales invoice? They say computer. Auditor says gone. I cannot rely on the data. So what is the biggest concern for the auditor? He says I cannot rely on the data. So now what he need, I cannot rely on the data. I cannot rely on the controls. For substantive, he cannot rely on the data. For controls, he cannot rely on the control. Are you getting? Then what the auditor will do, he says, first give me the system data and reports. I need to check them for completeness and accuracy. System data and reports, he says, I want to check them for completeness and accuracy. Like what we studied, you know, even for the population. Okay, population, first I want to check the completeness of the population. So completeness and accuracy. And now for substantive, what he says, more evidence is needed. Even for controls, now what does he say? Because I cannot rely on control, I have to do more of the substantive work. And then I will also communicate to TCWG. So that is SA 260, 265, and modified audit report, that is SA 705. Are you understanding? Impact of the IT related risk on three things. What are the three things? Substantive audit, controls and the reporting. In first two, what is the biggest concern or the, what you say, problem for the auditor? Cannot rely on the data, cannot rely on the control. So first he says, I need to check the data and report for the completeness and the accuracy. Then for substantive, he says more audit evidence is needed. In controls, we say more substantive audit work is needed. And then you report to TCWG and you can also modify the audit report. Right? So that's the impact of the IT related risk. Do you understand that? Okay, right. Then what does it say? Relevance of IT in an audit. Okay, now what all business functions and activities are being performed by IT? So nowadays you ask client depreciation, they say computer. You ask interest, who calculated? Computer. Rent, who calculated? Computer. Who authorized the transaction? Computer. Who passed the accounting entry? Computer. है ना? So business functions and activities being performed by the computer. Nowadays what all is happening at the client place with the help of computer? Computation and calculations are automatically carried out. Then accounting entries are posted automatically. Business policies and procedures including the internal controls are again applied automatically. So three things are happening automatically. What are the three things happening automatically? Yes, the computation and the calculation. Accounting entry. Whenever you withdraw money from the ATM, before I receive the money in my hand, before that my mobile beeps. Okay, your account has been debited by 2000 rupees and available balance is so much. So what is that? Accounting entries are posted automatically. Business policies and procedures including internal controls are automatically. Then the reports used in the business are again produced from the system, and user access and security are controlled by assigning system role to the users. So what is that? The user ID password control. Right, so if you enter into the, what do you say, Instagram, by putting your user ID and password over there, obviously you can see all the posts and all the reels over there which are relevant to you. Or on Facebook also, you cannot see somebody else's account through your user ID password over there, right? So when you open your Gmail account, you can see the mails which you have received over there, right? So that's an example of a user ID password control. So if I enter into the company system and I'm, say, the purchase manager of the company, then I have access only to the purchase module. I cannot pass any entry into the sales module of the company, right? So this is the impact of computers on the business functions and activity. What is the impact of computers? right? What does it say? Computation, calculation, automatic. Accounting entry, automatic. Business policy procedure, automatic. Reports use generated by the computers. And again, user access security are again controlled by the computers. Okay. Now, because client is making so much use of the computer, now can I do the audit ignoring the use of computers? Now can I do the audit ignoring the use of computer? No. Situations in which IT will be relevant to an audit. Now it says auditor, you will be outdated, and nobody will, you will not, you won't match. There will be a generation gap, auditor, if you don't make use of computer. Auditor says, even I understand. Can now today's time I cannot survive without the use of the computer. Why? Because increased use of the soft system and software application in business. Anything I ask client, what they say? Computer. Accounting entry, computer. And now what do I ask them? Anything. Controls, who exercised control? Computer. Calculation, computer. So increased use of the system and application software in the business. Then complexity of the transactions has increased, and a multiple system, network of system. Like I told you, nowadays no need to go to the bank. End user, and through the app only you can do all the transaction. So increased use of system application and software. Second, what has increased is the complexity of the transaction has increased. Then you have two different highs over there. One is HI and second is HIGH. What is the HI? High tech nature of the transaction. And second, what is high? Volume of transactions is high. Right? So increase, increase. Then high, high. What is high? High. High tech nature of the business and the volume of the transactions is high. Then what does it say? Company policy and company law. So company policy, that is internal policy of the company, and also the regulatory requirement. Right? So company policy and also company law, right? That is Companies Act. So company internal policy and company law, and then it is required by the Indian and international standards, right? Indian and international standards, like the International Standard of Organization, ISO certification, then PCI DSS, that is the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. I told you, when you put your debit credit card information online, so Payment Card Industry Data Security. Then you have SA 315, SOC, Service Organization Control, and ISAE, that is the International Standards on the Attestation Engagement. No need for you to get into the detail, but yeah, that is regarding the Indian and the international standard, and it also increases the efficiency and effectiveness of the audit. So India and international standard, and it also increases the efficiency and effectiveness of the audit. What is this? Situations in which IT will be relevant in an audit. When it will be relevant? Increased use of system and application software. Then complexity of transaction has increased. High-tech nature of the transaction. Volume of transactions is high. Company policy, then regulatory requirement, Indian and international standard. Act and increases the efficiency and effectiveness of the audit. And then you have the automated environment. What is an automated environment? In which the POAD. What is POAD? Processes, operations, accounting, and even the decisions are carried on with the help of the computer system. Right, so now your processes, operations, accounting, and even the decisions are now carried on with the help of the computer system. So you have the information system or the IT. Right, and what are the key features of an automated environment? Everything is faster, accurate, large volume of the transaction, integration between business operation. So in the moment you purchase the goods, will it be updated in your stock? Yes. The moment you sell the goods, will it be reduced from your stock? Yes. So integration. Then obviously better security and control, less prone to human error. Does it provide the latest information? And nowadays the passbook concept, it is still relevant, but losing its relevance? To some extent it is also, because now online, can I immediately see the transactions over there? No need to go to the bank and update your passbook and all. It does happen, but I'm telling you, it's not very relevant now. So see, once upon a time when you had to stock exchange, you did any transaction over there, right? So there used to be a broker. When there was no demat account, only physical security, so then you give your security to that broker, then he will see what are the rates available, then you say you want to sell at this rate, then he will sell it, then the securities will go to company, ownership will change, then the new person will get the certificate, then you receive the money. Nowadays, so you can't even imagine all of this happening. And it's all automated, happening at such a quick pace over there. Like, years back, decades back, ICI result used to come only in the newspaper. And say if you are from a very rural or a village area where the newspaper also couldn't be, couldn't used to be the daily supply of the newspaper. Then after that, you have to wait for some relative who is in the city. Then again, the newspaper coming. Then again, no mobile phone also, telephone, or the telegram through which you communicate. You tell them your admit card number and then they tell you. And then after that, or say when you travel by railway also, earlier time, at that time, once you leave the home, no phone with you, over, you're disconnected. Then only when you get down at some railway station, you find an STD ISD PCO booth over there, or that 1 rupee coin, if you want to make a local call, and then after that you connect. So there, earlier the life itself was designed in such a way that it required you to have patience. You had no option but to keep patience. But today, life itself, the technology has taken away the requirement of patience. If result is at 11 o'clock, morning 7 o'clock, ICI result.cir, CA result.nic.in, refresh, 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 refresh. You understand? No, there is no requirement. Like now you can post, 2 kilometers away, reach 2 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers. Continuously you can track also. So the requirement of patience is reducing day by day. Right. Anyways, it provides the latest information and also the connectivity and the networking capability. So this is all talking about the great things with the use of computer. Right. What are the great things? Faster business operation, then accuracy in data processing. Then it can process, though it is accurate, but even though it processes large volume of transaction, it is accurate. Then also integration, not that one record updated and another record not updated. Integration. Then also, in spite of the integration, there is better security, no human error. It provides the latest information and the connecting and the networking capability. Okay, right. Yes, now what is the fundamental principle of an automated environment? It is more system driven and less manual intervention. This is the fundamental principle. Correct, incorrect? What is the fundamental principle? Computer, what is your focus or desire behind using automated environment? Less manual intervention and more system driven. Now, the more the system driven, the more the automated environment is complex. What does it say? More it is automated, it is likely to be more complex. The more the automation, the more it is going to be complex. The complexity of a business environment depends on the level of the automation. The more the automation, the more it is going to be complex. And what is the fundamental principle of an automated environment? Less manual intervention and more system driven, right? Less manual intervention. See over here, the fundamental principle of an automated environment is to carry out the business with less manual intervention and more system driven. Yes, right? More automated, more likely to be complex. All automated environment are complex. No, 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 no. If it is more automated, it is more complex. If it is more automated, it is more complex. If it is less automated, then less complex or even non-complex. Right. Then complexity of a business environment depends on the level of automation. If the business environment is more automated, it is likely to be less complex. No. If it is more automated, it is going to be more complex. Are you understanding? More automated, then it is going to be more complex. On the other hand, if the company is using an off-the-shelf accounting software, it is likely to be less automated and hence less complex environment. So more automated, more complex, less automated, less complex environment. And also that is why even a single sentence we cannot ignore over there. Can't ignore. Why? Correct, incorrect. And there we can see the correct and correct in the exams. Okay, right? So generally I have noticed it, this is based on my experience. I don't know. Okay, students don't study the chapter of automated environment well. They dread that chapter. So you would have seen, that's the reason I have gone through the entire chapter except for the abbreviations and the term that you go through now. Okay, but apart from that, but see again how I made it more convenient. We started reverse way. We started with data analytics. Then I told you, sometimes FIFO, sometimes LIFO. So this chapter, what I did, LIFO, data analytics, control-based audit approach, IT control, impact of IT, risk. Then coming to the understanding the automated environment, right? Then after that, the business functions and activities, situations in which IT will be relevant, and then also the key features of an automated environment. Okay, right. So what is it that we are left with now? Can we think of that? One, government audit, then the audit of the different types of the entities. But company audit, little bit here and there we are doing. Like we did appointment of the auditor, we did the disqualifications of the company auditor. So, but I do agree that, still we need to do some part of it. Apart from that, we have the risk assessment and the internal control. Then the chapter regarding the fraud. Then the audit quality control and the audit documentation. Then you also have the audit strategy, the audit planning, and the audit program, right? And the audit program. And then apart from that, we have the standards, right? The auditing standards, right? We have the auditing standards. And introduction to auditing, maybe some few questions like skepticism, judgment I can take. But but apart from that, we have studied, the inherent limitations of an audit, overall objective, reasonable assurance and all, right? And then what we also need to study is the MCQs and the correct, incorrect. Have a general discussion on those ones. Okay. So tomorrow strategy is these chapters: risk assessment, internal control, fraud, audit quality control, audit documentation, audit strategy, audit planning, and the audit program. Right. Then after that, I could do the government audit and then take the MCQs with you, or the correct, incorrect. Any one of that I will take with you. So that for the 5th day, the last day of the class, I can give you a purview of the, because few standards so we'll cover here only, now like 315 will be here, 240 will be here, SQC 1, SA 220, 230 will be done here, right? Then 300 will also get done over here. And so we still have a few other standards to be covered, right? So those standards and then these different types and little bit of company law, right? We can keep it for the last day. So looks like we are quite under control, right? Why under control? Because we took the high pitch from day one. From day one, if I would have made it very comfortable and relaxed, then obviously we can never reach the target. So whenever you also study now, always ensure so that the pressure doesn't build up towards the end, that you catch momentum right from the beginning itself. Right? So is it all fine with you? So today again a power pack day. We discussed basic concepts, analytical procedures, audit sampling. Can't believe we completed with the chapter of the items of financial statement, and in detail we also looked into the automated environment, right? So almost we have like completed 4.5 chapters over there, right? So with that we stop here for today and we shall continue tomorrow. Thank you so much.